Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Coffee and Football, presented by Adam Lowy and the Lowy Law Firm. I'm your host, Blake Monroe, where I'm joined every day by Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton. Tell us where you're checking in from this morning, what you're drinking, get your questions in. We're going to get to those here in a little bit. We got Tony Hill's going to join us after a while, along with Denver Broncos quarterback Jarrett Stidham is going to stop by. So a loaded show today and a loaded day, Bobby. Practice going to be underway here in just a little bit, despite the, as you can see on the screen, rainy conditions in Austin.
Yeah, it was a gully washer last night. I tell you what, it kept pounding the roof from about 3 a.m. into around 7:30. The clouds are finally parting here in Austin. I'm right across from the stadium right now, and I'm doing my best Jerry Hamilton impersonation, by the way, in the car today. But largely speaking, I didn't think there was going to be a practice availability because of all the rain. Thought they might go inside the bubble, but we got an email from Texas Sports Information about 30 minutes ago saying, nope, they're going to be at DKR today. So we're going to get some time with the players watching practice starting around 9 a.m. this morning. I'm going to go to that. I'll head out here in about 15 minutes to take care of that. But it will be the second practice of the 2026 spring practice schedule for the Longhorns. They'll have one more this week. That'll be on Friday morning as well. Then they'll break a week, Jerry and Blake, and come back for 12 more practices, ending up at the spring game on April 18th. It should be an interesting day. Last practice we saw a couple guys held out: Ryan Wingo, Emmett Mosley, Justice Terry. It'll be interesting to see if any of those guys try to come back. I was told that Ryan Wingo is probably a week and a half out from being back, so he may start after they get back from spring break there on the 24th or 26th, that area. But we'll see what all happens today and transpires. Arch Manning still limited as well.
All right. Well, I tell you what, before we move on, Bobby, why don't you just go ahead and let everyone know about Adam Lowy and the Lowy Law Firm?
I can do it. Adam Lowy, if you're in a car and you get in a wreck because you're doing a video like this, actually I'm parked. Yeah. I'm not like some guys that can do it while talk and drive at the same time. Remember to check out Adam Lowy and the Lowy Law Firm. If you've been injured in a car wreck, truck wreck, automobile accident of any kind and think you might be due compensation, reach out to Adam and his team at LowyLawFirm.com. LowyLawFirm.com. They'll give you a free, no strings attached consultation to see if you and your family might be due compensation. Again, that's LowyLawFirm.com.
All right, guys. Well, one thing that we've, there's a lot going on, obviously, including recruiting. We haven't really got to touch on it the last couple of days because we've been talking spring ball, and then of course y'all left on Monday to go to practice. So let's go ahead and tackle that now. No pun intended. What you got for us?
Yeah, there's two new OL official visits set. One was a new offer, Keon Hemphill Woods out of Columbus, the town that the Shobles built. Is that fair? Is that fair to say? Actually, an elite football talent that's kind of bubbling and building right now. That's not last name Shoble out of Columbus. I think we have some huddle video on him. He was at practice Monday. He came up as a defensive lineman, but he is now being recruited as an offensive lineman, and he has that defensive line athleticism. That's the one thing I'll say. 6'3", 275, 280. He plays tackle at Columbus. He's going to be an interior guy at the next level. He squared up, set up his official visit to Texas yesterday, which will be the 5th through 7th. He originally had Cal canceled, so he canceled Cal there in that visit. He's visiting SMU, he's visiting Texas Tech, and he's visiting Auburn. And Texas Tech and Auburn will be the weeks after Texas. But a guy that, he's been on a lot of campuses around the state, but he's really come up with the college coaches even later in this cycle a little bit. I think he played so much defensive line. He was part of their state championship team 2 years ago as more of a defensive lineman. So I think when coaches went out in January, they just stopped by school, they were like, okay, this guy, and he had some offers before that, don't get me wrong, but a number of the bigger SEC schools and the bigger offers for him have come later in this process, and even in the February with Florida offer. I mean, now Texas, first week in March, but a guy that's got really good feet. He's got really good body quickness. He can really pull out of guard position in college, which you can easily see on tape that he's going to be a guy that can really pull and play in space. Physical on contact, understands enough about leverage, I think, to work because playing defensive line, he's got work to do. All these guys play high in high school, right? But this guy's got some real aggressiveness. He's got really good feet. He is a very quick. He's got a lot of body quickness. I really like the offer, and I really like Texas setting up this OV. The second guy is out of Orange.
Wait, 1 second, Jerry. 1 second.
Yeah.
When is he visiting again? And say his full name again, because look,
it's Keon Hemphill Woods. Keon Hemphill Woods, and he visits June 5th through 7th. And Texas Tech is the week after. Auburn is 2 weeks after. He's visiting SMU prior to those. So we'll see if he adjusts. He was at A&M for Junior Day in January. We'll see if he sets up anything there. But yeah, very impressive guy. These are the guys I like on the offensive line that play D-line and then realize, okay, offensive line may be my future because he's got defensive line athleticism that's going to translate to offensive line. But a really, really talented another lineman in the state of Texas. I mean, it's a really good offensive line here in the state of Texas. And this is why, the early rankings can kind of be misleading, ranking offensive linemen when they're sophomores, because you box yourself in our industry doing that. And you compare this guy, and now he's not playing against the same competition that somebody's playing against on I-20 in Dallas in that district, to be fair. But you can see his athleticism and where he can go as a player.
Hey, Jerry, what is his height, weight? Because that's the only thing that would, after watching that film, he's extraordinarily quick and powerful. He can be low. He's athletic. You mentioned pulling. What is his height and weight? Because that would be the only thing that could possibly hold him back. Because that's an impressive film.
Yeah, he's a legit 6'3", probably 275, 280. He has enough arm length. He's gonna be a 300-plus pound guy because he is a young-looking frame and body type. Seeing him in person. The second, and David Ross said, he's got some nasty to him too, and I think that may be a requirement playing for Schobel. I mean, at Columbus, they won state 2 years ago. They do it coming out of. I've said this before. If you come out of that district, even though it's a smaller school, you play against every style in that district. You play against a wing T team. You play against the athletes of Hitchcock. So you have to play really fast against Hitchcock and then beat them physically up front because they have the skill guys everywhere in Hitchcock. That district they come out of is very tough, and it's produced state champions the last two, maybe, and played for it 3 of the last 4 years. The other offensive lineman is Lucas Roa. He's 6'5", 310 out of Orange Lutheran in Orange, California, obviously. A guy that Texas offered a year ago, May. So they've been on him a while. But I think watching him play a little center this year and move around, he's played left tackle. He's also played some center his junior season. He's now also scheduled for an official visit June 19th through 21st. After the show today, I'm going to update the official visitors list. Texas is now at 44. And I think there's more than that, and they're waiting to announce and in edits or what have you. I think Texas is over 50 official visitors right now in reality that the staff has probably on their board has dates for, but they just haven't been announced yet. And I think that number will end up about 55. But Lucas Roa is a 6'5", 305-pound offensive lineman who has got a number of major offers. Texas is his first known official visit date, to my knowledge. And I think he'll go visit some of the powers around the country. He's been on a number of unofficial visits. He's been to Texas once before. So that's the 2 new official visits. One guy that already has an official visit that is on campus right now is Joakim Gouda, the linebacker. I think he's currently at South Paulding. I'll be surprised if he's not at Carrollton, Georgia next year. Maybe that changes. This is one of the best linebackers in the country. This is, Will Muschamp went and saw him in January. Texas has been on him heavily ever since. This is his first unofficial visit to Texas. He's also scheduled to be on campus June 12th through 14th, and he is amongst the hardest hitters in this class. He is one of the more physical guys on contact in this 27 class. His rankings are starting to catch up with his talent. But this guy's very good. I think Georgia most people would say around this recruitment at Georgia's 70-75% chance he ends up at Georgia right now. But we're getting into the process, and in the NIL day and age, it's hard to ever lock anything down to say, oh, yeah, he's a lock to the school, right? So you got to go through the process. But this is – state of Georgia is loaded at linebacker. I went and saw a couple of those guys on my trip, Jeremiah Culpepper and Jabias Smith, who are also scheduled to be in June 12th through 14th. But this guy's one of the better inside backers in the country. He's about 6'1", 225, 6'1.5", 225, and he is wanted by all the SEC powers.
It's not hard to see why. There's some that you just kind of, okay, yeah. I mean, he hits people. They go down. Hey, he's
playing high level. He's playing high level competition in the Atlanta area. I mean, these are big, fast athletes.
Yeah,
it is like playing on I-20 in Dallas.
A couple other news in other sports, by the way. Longhorn baseball team routed Texas State. Longhorns now, Blake, 16-0 on the season in baseball.
Yep,
best start since when?
2005. So been a while, obviously, 21 years. But yeah, 16-0, one of two teams undefeated. USC, oddly enough, being the other one. I don't think anybody saw that one coming, but man, looking good. And they start conference play this weekend against Ole Miss. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. What about basketball, Jerry? The Longhorns start tournament play?
Yeah, they're playing in Nashville tonight against Chris Beard and Ole Miss. And I was going to respond as part of that to Kess 1983. Extremely important basketball game this evening. That OU loss hurt badly. We need at least one win to get into the dance. I'm going to defer to Joe Lunardi on this. Joe Lunardi disagrees. Joe Lunardi thinks Texas is in, win or loss. They just bump back to the play-in game. I'm not sure I'd necessarily go all the way with Joe Lunardi on that because the conference tournaments, depending on how those go, does Utah State not win their conference tournament? Could that push a third team in from that league? I mean, there's a lot of things, 2 teams in from that league. There's a lot of things still in play right now. That's why you always want to stay off the first 4 bubble. Because I get what Lunardi's saying and why he's saying it. Texas has 6 quad 1 wins. They have beat a lot of really good teams. I get what he's saying. The SEC is a loaded conference in terms of talent and depth of that league. I get where he's coming from. The Ken Palm says Texas is in no matter what. They have them 33, and Ken Palm's used a lot. But so Joe Lunardi says they're in, win or loss. They just bump from a 10 seed line to the play-in game, which that's possible. I'm not saying he's 100% wrong, but I think if you lose the game today, you leave yourself really open depending on how many upsets there are in conference tournaments. So if you win, I'd say this, if you win today, I don't think it changes your seed. And by the way, I think for this Texas team, being a 10 or 11 is right where you want to be. Yeah, being an 8 or 9 seed, that was talked about. Who wants to be an 8 or 9 and go to Buffalo and play Michigan, play Greenville and play Duke, go to San Diego and play Arizona? Texas isn't. That's not where this Texas team is. You want to be at that 10-11 seed line if you're me. You want to be the 10 seed, not have to sweat out the first 4 game. But it's a big game today because if Texas wins, I think they're locked in as a 10 seed and it's done. If they lose, I think it leaves them in a slight more bit of jeopardy than Joe Lunardi said in a recent interview. But again, that's Joe Lunardi's profession. We'll see.
All right. Well, let's see. One thing that we need to get to is a super chat while we're on the subject of basketball from Terrence Jones. This is Bobby and Jerry basketball question. You guys think that the women's team would have responded in the way they did without that butt chewing from Vic Schaefer? Of course, he caught a little fire from people regarding that. Not warranted, in my opinion, but yeah. What do you guys think?
Didn't catch fire for me. I loved it. Yeah, I think that was helpful. Look, I think especially in this day and age of NIL, I mean, I think there's the tough love part of this is critical during seasons. I mean, critical. And I know some people are like, oh, he went, that was over the top or whatnot. I mean, guys that have been doing it this long, you kind of got to trust that they know their team, right? and he didn't just do that. He kind of called out the scout for that game as well. So it was more than players. But look, I think these guys know their team. I think they know what buttons to push. I mean, Vic's coached in 3 Final Fours, a national championship game. He probably has a pretty good feel for his team. And I know it looked rough, but I think it was very challenging and very helpful to the close of the regular season for Texas. I just believe that. I could be wrong.
I've got no problem with what he did, first of all. Second of all, I was at the Vanderbilt game, and very little help defense. They didn't play as a team. They got blown out by Vanderbilt in Nashville. I went to the game, and if I saw that same game, I'd get hot too if I were a coach, because they just didn't play together as a team. They looked disjointed. They weren't, like I said, they weren't helping on each other on defense. A lot of one-on-one moves made it all the way to the basket without without being contested. I got no problem with Vic being aggressive in some ways, and I think he was aggressive, but I don't think he was demeaning. I mean, there's a difference, right? I mean, you want coaches that challenge people. You don't want coaches that are demeaning in the process. And you have to tiptoe that line, right? You can't go over it because then you do risk losing the team and losing their respect of you, frankly. And you probably should, or you go just to the edge of it. And Jerry used the term push buttons. You know which buttons to push and how far you can and can't go. So, and I will say this as well. If nothing else, I think everyone on his team knows how much he likes to win and wants to win after they hear something like that. There's no doubting that for him. Hey guys, I've got to get going. I'm going into practice. We will have a practice report after practice today. CJ Rod's going to be there as well. Hank South, Jeff Howe, all will be there today along with myself. And we'll have more here from Austin. You guys have a good coffee and football. Jerry, Blake, take it home, buddy.
Okay. Thanks, Bobby.
All
right. Now then, Jerry, we got people's questions that we got to get to. I do want to answer this real quick, though, if you don't mind. Josh Roberts, Blake, why wasn't the game called last night against Texas State when we were up 15-4? Because Texas State was the home team. You got to give the home team a chance to battle back and do their thing.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see here. Jerry, you may be able to answer this one. Ace Horn 23 with the super chat says, Bobby, a couple of weeks ago, you mentioned a 24 to 72 hour window for a possible commitment. Any update on this?
Yeah, I think, I think the Texas staff has been told by a couple of guys, but I think it's going to end up being a longer process till it goes public, is what I would say to that.
There you go. All right, let's
the agents are in control.
For better or worse?
Yes.
All right, let's do a couple of more recruiting questions here. This one from Antoine always brings the good recruiting questions. He says, Jerry, how's it currently looking with Trey Moore from Weiss?
He's coming in June 5th through 7th. He's one of a number of wide receivers. I think Texas has 8 or 9 wide receivers that are scheduled for OVs now. A lot of those guys in state, obviously. It's a really deep year at wide receiver. I think it is every year in Texas at this point. I think Bryson Thrower, Eastern Royals committed. Obviously, that's going to be a battle. Eastern Royal, everything. And I'm going to keep saying this because I want to give the kid credit for not shifting gears. Everything Eastern Royal told CJ and I at the Under Armour All-America game check-in in late December, he has followed through on. To the point, he told us, he said, look, I'm going to make visits to Florida, LSU, Tennessee, probably one other. At the time, maybe it was Miami, along with Texas. And he has not come off of that. He is stuck with the process he's going through. Texas knows it's a battle. I mean, anytime you're recruiting one of the top receivers in the country, one of the fastest guys in the country out of New Orleans, brother Martin, same high school DJ Augustine played at before Katrina, by the way. They know it's a battle. They know Lane Kiffin's first full class. You think he's not going to go absolutely all in to keep Easton Royal at home, being Lane Kiffin, being an offensive coach? They know. The kid's always been enamored with playing football in college in the state of Texas or the state of Florida. Does that mean he's not going to go to LSU? Look, we live in a different day and age. 10 years ago, I think there was not a chance he'd probably end up at LSU because I think that's just kind of how he's seen himself. So that's the out-of-state receiver. Bryson Thrower in-state, I think, is very high on the board. Then you have a bunch of other guys that are right there. I do think Texas plans to take 3, but I do think where guys see themselves, the prospects, and where their agents see them from an NIL perspective will play a major part in who those 3 receivers will be come July.
And LT or L 2 times. Sorry, had to figure that one out, work that one out in my head there for a minute. Does Ismail Kamara have an official visit set?
June 12th through 14th, same weekend as Brian Swanson. Is Peyton Miller's the 5th through 7th, but Kamara does have his OV set, 12th through 14th.
And Tyrese has a personal question for you, Jerry. I was catching up on past episodes, and I notice you're always driving far to see recruits. Do you not like to fly?
If I'm just going to a camp, if I'm just going in for a couple of days, I'll fly. But the one thing I've learned in this business is this. Anytime I'm flying, let's just say I'm flying to Orlando, Florida, if back in the day, if I was going to go see Cedric Baxter, if I'm in the air and I say, wait, I'm going over New Orleans, I'm going over Mobile, I'm going over name it. I just always think of the plane, wow, I'm missing a lot of schools. And so I started driving because I feel like it's just you get a lot more done. Like the trip that I just took, I mean, I drove from Houston to Mobile, spent the night. Then I went to Viger High that morning. Then I drove to Dothan, Alabama, which you can't fly to get to Dothan, Alabama. And then I drove up to LaGrange, Georgia, went to Troup County. Then I zipped over to Warner Robins to Northside to see Amari Fountain. Then the next day I stayed in that area. I stayed in where did I stay in? Dublin, Georgia. And then I drove over to Swainsboro to see Jabari Smith. Then I drove down near Savannah to see Jannard Albright. And then I went down into Florida. It's just that it doesn't make any sense to fly to me. I feel like if you just got to get in your car and you got to plan out your trip and you got to go see all those guys. As I've gotten older in this business, I don't like flying over all these places where I know kids are that I should be stopping to see.
And Antoine says, plus you missed stopping and loading up on.
There's that too.
Living rent free in UT. What is the feel with Honor F. Johnson ahead of his commitment?
USC or Oregon is the feeling. And he's scheduled to be in Austin March 26th. We'll have to see after he commits if he follows through on his unofficial visits.
Well, there you go. All right, Joe Z with a loaded question here for you, Jerry. Who is your must-get recruit this cycle?
I would say, look, I want to say this. There isn't a Colin Simmons for me that's an in-state guy that you say just got to have him. And I think John Meredith is a really, really good player. But I just thought Colin Simmons is a different kind of special. Like it takes somebody like that, your Vince Young, your Colin Simmons types for me to really say absolute must get, because I do think there are must get recruits though. For me in this class, it's Easton Royal because you have him. You're going to have him on your commitment list a long time. There's very few guys. I mean, what did he run 2.6 in his first track meet that are going to put that type of time up as any position on the track, but are also a really good football player. And the fact that this is one of those national battles, and he's out of New Orleans, I think that he's probably the guy for me. In-state, if you said, Jerry, you can pick one guy, well, obviously you're going to go with a 5-star corner if there's a 5-star corner like John Meredith. And I love John Meredith. I'm not sure he's quite where Devin's quite as good as Devin Sanchez, but I think he's really, really good, really talented. But I'll say this: there's so many good defensive backs Texas is in on too that no matter what happens, I think Texas is going to sign a tremendous defensive back class. That's very much a focus of Will Muschamp's first recruiting class on the defensive side at Texas.
There you go. All right, Jerry. I tell you what, before we get to some more super chats, and Tony Hill's probably joining us here shortly, why don't you tell everyone this morning about Ridge Wallet?
I can do that. If I got to tell everybody about Harry's first. I had Harry's.
Okay, yep. Go ahead. My bad.
I had my Harry's read ready to roll because I was looking at the shaver I didn't use this morning. Did your old razor dull too fast? Irritate your neck? Do they cost way too much? $30 for 8 refills? That's a total scam. Harry's, why Harry's, you might ask? Because they own their own world-class blade factory in Germany. That means there's no outsourcing and no middleman. The same facility has been perfecting blade making for over 100 years because they control the entire process from steel to shelf. They keep costs low. Why pay $30 for refills when Harry's gives you better blades for a fraction of that? Harry's has launched their most advanced razor ever, and it's still cheaper than the Gillette Fusion 5. If you don't love your shave, Harry's will make it right, no questions asked. Risk-free trial means there's zero downside to giving it a shot. Harry's Plus is Harry's heaviest razor handle ever, made from metal, never plastic, designed to fit comfortably in your hand. Heavier handle means more control and a luxurious feel. Harry's just doesn't make razors. They've got a full line of grooming essentials, from shave gel to deodorant to body wash, all thoughtfully made and priced to stock up. All of Harry's blades and grooming products can be delivered right to your door. Set your preferred schedule and never run out of blades again. For a limited time, our listeners can get the Harry's Plus trial set for only $10 at harrys.com/ontexas. The set includes the all-new Harry's Plus razor, one refined 5-blade cartridge, a 2-ounce foaming gel, and a travel cover to protect your blades on the go. Just head to harrys.com/ontexas to claim this offer.
And now, if you don't mind, can you tell everyone about Ridge Wallet?
I'm looking for my Ridge Wallet, and I found it. Okay. Why Ridge Wallet? The old giant crusty leather brick that was falling apart. It hurt you when you're driving multiple hours. You get out of the car and you're tilted one way. Those days are over. You just need to go to Ridge to get your wallet's unique, slim, and modern design that holds up to 12 cards plus cash, made with premium materials like aluminum, titanium, and carbon fiber. There's over 50 colors and styles to choose from, including the UT Ridge Wallet. All Ridge products have a lifetime warranty. This is literally the last wallet you'll ever have to buy. Does it give you peace of mind knowing that all Ridge wallets have RFID blocking technology, keeping you safe from digital pickpocketers? There's over 100,000 5-star reviews. That is growing by the day. And let me remind you this, losing your wallet is the worst. A lot of us have been there. But with the Ridge AirTag attachment, you'll always know exactly where it is before panic mode kicks in. Ridge isn't just about wallets. They create premium everyday carry essentials like key cases, suitcases, and rings, all built with the same sleek, durable design. No matter what you pick, Ridge has free shipping and a 99-day risk-free trial and a lifetime warranty on all their products. For a limited time, our listeners can get 10% off Ridge by using the code ONTEXAS at checkout. Just head to Ridge and use the code ONTEXAS, and you're all set. After you purchase, the last where you heard about them, that's obvious. It's where Hump Day with Hills takes place.
That's right. And we'll have Tony joining us here in just a little bit. Let's see here. I need to, first off, thank you all for the birthday wishes. And I want to say happy birthday to Nick Ray as well. His was yesterday, he said, but thank you all. And co-champs. Yes, my wife actually got me this baseball shirt. So
nice.
Thank you to her.
What do your kids get you, Blake?
What did my kids get me? A headache.
That's exactly right. Exactly right.
Hopefully a baseball win later today from the oldest. We'll see what happens. Oh, man. All right. Bobby sent this over, so I thought it'd be a good time to bring it up. Some Directors Cup trophies, Jerry. Bobby, I guess, is waiting on practice to get fired up there, and so he's sending some pictures from around the facilities. But how about that? Not too shabby. Yeah,
every time you go, for Texas fans who have never been in to the north end zone, I think it's a great, take 30 minutes if you've never been in there next time you're in Austin or around, come for football games, spring game, whatnot, and make sure to walk through. It's a great look at the history of Texas athletics, and obviously there the Directors Cups most recently. some of the great success of the University of Texas. But I've been through maybe 5 or 6 times for like 15 minutes at a time. And every time there's something you see that you're like, oh, I didn't even realize that. Right. I mean, there's so much history of Texas athletics. I love walking around. And by the way, just for those that don't know, on the rare days where practices in DKR, and obviously it's because of the rain today, they chose not to go into the bubble, but give the media the open window today. This is where we come in. This is where we kind of sit and wait for the Texas SID department to take us down to the field. So if you're wondering why Bobby's hanging out there, it's because this is where the media is told to gather before they take us down to the stands to watch probably 15, 20 minutes today of open media window.
Yep. Well, somebody that joins us every Wednesday that we just love to have is here, and that's Tony Hills. Good morning to you, sir.
Man, what's going on, man? I ain't gonna lie to you guys, man. Today I woke up. Hold on real quick. Today I woke up and I was feeling real Rod Baberish today, but I'm representing from a different side. So we're gonna pack the helmet and we're gonna do the dance, man, for my man Rod B. You know what I mean? I was missing my dog.
Hey, wait, Tony.
Yeah.
Why have you never asked me to sign that helmet?
Well, this was for the people that played that year, so I think you got there a little earlier than I did.
After you did, yeah.
Yeah. That's all it is.
Yeah. All right, Tony. We're spring practice number 2.
Yeah.
For the Texas Longhorns. I've never asked you this, man. I mean, how many times do you miss playing football? Being retired?
0.
Are there days you wake up and just say, I miss this? Is it a time of the year? Or are you just in football, you're done and you past your injuries, you had your great career, and you don't even ever wake up saying, I miss it?
I don't miss it. I don't miss the game, anything, because my situation is different, Jerry. You know, like I was done. Like I literally, like when I retired, I actually retired with a signed contract with the Detroit Lions.
Yeah.
Right. I was going into the season as the swing guy, which would probably eventually during the season at some point become a starter because, you know, guys was dropping like flies during that time. But I just decided I was done, man. I wanted to move on and do something different. Now, I will tell you what I do miss and what I've been able to gain by being in the space that I'm in as far as the wealth management space, man. And that's the locker room. That's being with the guys. That's having the talks, that's getting together, that's seeing what people are doing with their lives. Like all of those particular things, absolutely. But the game, no, man, I gave everything that I had, and I'm content with how my career went and everything that I did. Like that, I don't have any regrets. You know what I mean? And 2, man, I'm not, you know, like the old rappers, how they be hating on the new guys. Like I'm not built like that, man. It's these guys' time, man. Go out and do your thing. And I cheer for these young guys to go out and have their experiences too. So that's the other part of it.
Yeah. So Tony, we saw that I was at the media window for the first spring practice, and you looked out there and you saw the 2 newcomers on the offensive line, and I don't think they're going to factor into this season. So that's not what the question's about. But John Turntine, who, by the way, is up to 285 pounds, like we'd reported. Yeah. And then Caden Scher. But not those guys, what you've seen of them. But what is maybe the most important thing for those guys in spring practice as they begin their journey as an offensive lineman? Are they power at a blue blood level? I mean, this is real football at the college level in the SEC, as real as it gets. Kind of what's the most important things you would say to those guys if you had a discussion with them?
Yeah, it'd be simple. Understand what being a pro means, because at this level you're a professional. Like all of this college sports stuff, like it's college sport, man. Guys are getting paid. The minute you put money in it, it's professional sports.
That's right.
So understand what being a pro means. So learn the offenses, build your body up, get with the veterans, be in their hip pocket. Don't be seen by your words, be seen by your actions, right? Understand your job, your assignment, because it's a building block. I mean, like for a lot of these guys, man, it's not just the systems, it's not just understanding how to play the position at this level, man. It's all of it. It's going to class and not being forced to, right? It's understanding how to handle your time, what time management looks like. It's understanding how to create your vision. Like, what does this first year look like for you? What are the objectives and the targets that you've set? Like, be intentional about what this year is about. Like, sit down and actually, think about it. It's similar to what Abraham Lincoln said, right? You give me 6 hours to cut a tree, the 4 hours I'm gonna spend sharpening the axe. That's all you're doing. You're preparing yourself for when your time is called. It may be this year, it may not be. Either way, your job is to prepare yourself. And the number one person, if you are a turntine or anybody that's coming in that you should be looking to as it pertains to what preparation can do for your career, would be Trevor Goosby. I would be in his hip pocket. Everything he does, everything he says, hell, whatever he eats, whatever he listens to, I would be emulating that, because we've already seen a path of success when preparation, when opportunity meets preparation.
So I wanted to follow up without naming a name or throwing anybody under the bus. That's not what I'm talking about. When you were in Texas, everybody wasn't always locked in your room in the offensive line.
Yeah.
If I said you had 15 offensive linemen in that room, how many guys were truly locked in? Because obviously the guys that were truly locked in, that were as talented as, like you had a career in football, but how many guys, if I said 15, how many would you look back on and say, that guy wasn't truly locked in, even though he was at the University of Texas?
I'd say probably 8 with a fringe of 9.
Dang.
And the reason being is because you have the starting 5, of course, those guys. You have your backups. Usually that's a 2-man rotation. But then that 8th guy, man, you're 1 injury away. So a lot of times for that 8th guy, it's a lot of pressure, because how do I stay locked in and engaged even if I don't know if I'm going to get my shot? But you've seen situations where people go down and your shot happens, man. I'll never forget, man. You want to talk about a moment and making sure that you're prepared, dude. I believe that was 2004. So I'm a true freshman, just moved to the position, learning and growing and building and just doing whatever it takes to be the best lineman I can be. And game in and game out, I see the field on special teams, but I'm not really seeing, unless it's cleanup time, I'm not really seeing the field. But that didn't deter me. I was like, my time is going to come. Jerry, when my time came? The freaking Ohio State game when we barely beat them guys at the shoe.
Yeah.
When Jay Scott rolled up his ankle and they're like, Tony, you're in. Like, all right, bro, you better know what time it is, right? You can't be you. Like, make sure that they don't know that Jay is not in the game. That was my mission, right? And fortunately, he ended up coming back and finishing it out. But for that time and that quarter that I played, man, I was so glad that I saw how my preparation paid off, because here I am thrown in the fire at one of the pivotal points in the season for us to go and become, national champions. And so that's how the game goes, man. You have got to be locked in each and every week, each and every practice, because you just never know when your time is coming.
So what made because this is a chance I get to throw like 9 questions at you, and questions I've always wanted to ask you. So that national title team, obviously Justin Blaylock was a right tackle, Jonathan Scott was a left tackle, and we know the starting lineup well. Line and Studdard.
Yeah.
Who was maybe, because there's different levels to this stuff. Who was the best? Who was the best film study guy on y'all's offensive line? Because that's like Earl Thomas. Here's the reason I asked that, Tony.
Yeah.
When Earl Thomas is in his redshirt year, I had somebody who may now coach at Texas again say he was the most locked in guy in the film room and taking it the most serious of anybody.
Yeah.
And obviously, when you win a national title, everybody's taking it serious, right? But there's gifted guys in film room, right? And there's gifted guys on the field. Who was there one guy when you kind of look at that guy and say that was his strength, this was another guy's strength? And then meld this all together.
Yeah, I would say it was a mixture of two. I would say when it came to the film, by proxy and just by position, it would be Lyle Sindeline, because he'd have to get everybody aligned and let us know what the rotations were when safeties changed and linebackers moved to get us to the right calls. But also Will Allen. Will Allen at that time was a 5th-year senior, so he understood what it meant, to be locked in as a pro. But I would say those two guys for the most part. Not to say other guys didn't watch film, but those were the guys that, like, we would be in practice, and I remember those two being the guys that would always say, hey, when y'all see this, I want y'all to be knowing I'm more than likely going to make this move. And then him and Will would be going back at it, and then all of us would agree to it. Basically what Lyle said went, unless it was trumped by Vince. But yeah, it would be those two.
When was it as an offensive lineman after you made that move at Texas? Did you kind of piece everything together that it was going to take outside your God-given talent to live out your dream? Do you kind of remember how that process went for you?
Yeah, man, it was I won't say it was a lot, right? You don't ask God for blessings and then complain about the food that he puts on the table. But I will say it was a process, and it was a challenging process. I'm a guy before injury coming in 6'5", 270, running damn near 4.6 40. I'm catching passes. I'm shaking linebackers. I'm putting them in the dirt. I'm agile, right? But I'm doing a mixture of things. And now you go from being that active to now you have to learn an entirely different position, but not only a entirely different position, there's a different technique that's involved. There's a different strategy that's involved. There's a different angle of how you do things that's involved. And that process was extremely challenging. But I will say this. Obviously, you have great coaches like Coach McQuarter. I had, Jay Scott is a great mentor. And I just knew, like, man, I'm gonna just put in the work. I'm gonna take advantage of every opportunity that I have. I'm gonna go in the weight room, holler at my man Donnie Made. Shout out to Donnie, man, too, because that dude, out of all the strength coaches, and not taking away from anything from Bruce, Mad Dog, any of these guys, Shep, Big Shep, none of them. But out of all the guys, he was the guy that I worked with the most, simply because of my martial arts background and his martial arts background. And I wanted to learn how to incorporate that into the position. So he was a big supporter of mine and helping me to get to where I was. But it was just work. I mean, there's no secret to this thing. It's work, period and point blank.
Hey, Tony, I don't know if you've seen this, but South Carolina signed a tremendous offensive tackle, Jacarius Peak, from NC State out of the portal. He tore his ACL playing hoops about 4 days before spring practice. And he's in a serious NFL draft prospect.
Golly, bro.
When y'all were there, games used to happen in the rec, right?
Yes.
At what point did Mac and those guys say, hey, man, enough's enough? Or because I don't think Texas ever had an injury like that. I think Texas, knock on wood, has escaped those injuries. We've seen recently. I know Kwame Cavill back in the day could really hoop. There's been some other guys, but did the Texas staff ever like, hey man, let's stay off the basketball court?
If they did, it wasn't in our room. Our guys weren't hoopers, man. I mean, I was.
Shutter wasn't a hooper.
Yeah, nah, no guys wasn't hoopers, man. We weren't going in there to battle these guys. Basically the YMCA pickup games. You know what I mean? Like if I went in there, I'd go and shoot around. If I did play at all, it wouldn't be anything serious. I'm not boxing people out. I'm not getting rebounds. I'm outside in the paint shooting mid ranges and 3-point shots. I'm not getting no rebounds. Like it's just like it's not what I do anymore. But yeah, I mean, look, I can't fault the brother. You know what I mean? Because you can say, "Oh man, you playing basketball, you tear your LCL." I mean, the reality is, the man could be walking down the street, slip off a curb, and tear his ACL. You know what I mean? I will say that you put yourself in a compromised position as an athlete when you put yourself in compromised positions as an athlete. You know what I mean? Like, so I know hindsight is 20/20. I know he wish he wouldn't have done that, but look, man, we live in this era where ACL injury, you come back quick. You know, if this was 1980, it'd be a wrap.
Yeah. By the way, that's something that's crazy to me that's happened. Chat, if y'all have seen this, I'm sure y'all have. Jason Tatum is back playing in the NBA.
Wow.
A few months after an Achilles rupture.
Wow. Yeah.
That's how far we've come, to your point, Tony. In medicine nowadays, is he is back on the court playing in an NBA right now. He played last night against the Spurs. I think it was his third game back after an Achilles way less than a year ago. It's like people are kind of looking at that saying, that's kind of a wow moment in athletics for me, seeing him back that quick.
Those injuries can definitely a year minimum. I've seen some of them even last as long as 2 years because the explosiveness that it takes, the consistent pounding that it takes, especially as a hooper, man, like that is amazing. That's amazing. Shout out to who his medical team and strength team is, because that's wild.
Here's one that just popped into my head. So I was at obviously the open media practice for the media availability Monday. And the one thing that I think you knew already was we talked about all this stuff, Tony, but it's different seeing it in person, is the running back room. So yeah. Raleigh Brown has a different skill set than Hollywood Smothers, totally different runners. Derek Cooper, different skill set, different frame than those other two guys. And you could keep going, James Simon and Michael Terry, but those guys all had different strengths, different skill sets. As an offensive lineman, did you guys study? Did you study your running back and say, okay, kind of to know what to expect from an offensive line perspective, each guy and how they're different and what they like to do, and really study it to kind of have a feel in your head of what Raleigh Brown may do different than Hollywood Smothers, what he may do when he takes a handoff within the scheme, the strength of those guys?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. But it looks different, right? Of course, when you're watching film, those are things that we're talking about in the film room. But the other part of that is that we're actually in the running backs room, or they're in our room with those guys a lot of times because we're picking up pass protection. So we have to identify who we're blocking and let them know who their guys is assigned to. And so within that structure, you get to learn these guys, know these guys, and talk to these guys about what it is that they like. Like, I'll give you an example. When Selvin would run the ball, it was very important to make sure, if you're on the backside of a cutoff block with Selvin, to make sure that your hat and hands were in the right place and that your shoulder was in the right place to give him a clear lane, because he's a downhill runner, right? So he's a one-step cut guy, right? He's gonna take it down to the proper path. He sees the hole. You got the proper shield off. He's cutting back. He's hitting the hole. With Jamal, you just, at the end of the day, just displace this man and move him. Even if you're not maybe technically correct, as long as you got movement, that's all he needs, because he's so shifty and athletic that he's going to make you right. There's been times where I would actually, when we would have some certain zone cutoff schemes, I would actually trail the backside 3 technique, because I knew Jamal on certain plays would want to cut behind me. He wouldn't want to cut in front of me. So I would trail intentionally, still not giving up penetration, but move a guy down the line. As soon as he's seen it, and he's out the window, because the backside end can't close fast enough, because Jamal's start and stop was immaculate, which is why he's in the Ring of Honor in Kansas City. You see it in the NFL. So you would see things like that. So yeah, I mean, but it also depends on who you are as a lineman. Some linemen are just like, who am I blocking and what's my job, right? But for me, I was a guy that, just because of the way my brain works, I ask why a lot. And that could drive some coaches crazy, right? But if you give me the entire picture, right, then I understand how I fit within the scheme of what it is that we're doing and what I can and cannot get away with, depending on who's behind me.
Hey, Tony, thanks again for joining us, as always. I want to ask, we always talk to you about football. I might throw in some basketball with your kid every now and again, but athletics as a whole at Texas. Well, Bobby just had a picture of the Director's Cup trophies while waiting on practice there. Two things, because I want to ask you about the KD NIL deal. I know you saw that.
Yeah, I did, yeah.
But as a former UT athlete, where Texas athletics are as a whole right now. Yeah. Because you were at Texas you came right after the TJ Ford Final Four, right? And, and then when obviously you're there for the VY, and the baseball team won national title in 2005. Yeah. But so you just missed the TJ Ford Final Four team, right? But kind of your thoughts on Texas athletics as a whole, as a former Texas athletic and Texas athlete and lifetime Longhorn, kind of athletics as a whole, the pride you get from where the university's at right now.
Yeah, I mean, extremely, extremely happy and extremely pleased with where we're going. Look, when we first moved into the conference, you never knew what we were going to get. I mean, right off the rip, man, you get into the SEC, you know, like in any sport, the level of competition is now elevated. And all we did was start dominating, man. You talk about our women's volleyball team, dominance, right? The basketball team this year just winning the SEC championship and have been close to other victories and getting close to that title game. Obviously, the football team and what they've been able to do with the back-to-back college playoffs, winning the Big 12 and then coming in and competing for an SEC championship when there's been so many teams that have been in this conference for years and haven't even sniffed an opportunity to get there. It just shows you the dominance of athletes and how the mentality is as somebody that goes to the university. Like, we're never going to duck or dodge competition. We embrace it. And we show it. You know, the baseball team has been doing their thing. Like, it's just, and then on top of that, you see like the individual players who are getting these accolades, winning these trophies and going on and having all of these great careers. So it just goes to show you that if you're at the University of Texas, man, you're going to have an opportunity to live out your wildest dreams. You're going to have an opportunity to compete against the best talent, and you're going to have an opportunity to really show what you have, what you're made of, and you're going to have an opportunity to represent your state. So in my eyes, that word on the front of my jersey means just as much as the name on the back of it. And I believe that when you look at Texas athletics as a whole, there's a lot of people that have that same thought process because you see the results. It's not just in the way that they're doing things or what they're saying. You're actually seeing the results of what winning looks like, or you're seeing the results of what trending and moving in the right direction. Of course, you don't win championships every year, but guess what? If you keep getting to the dance, eventually you're gonna knock down the door and get on the dance floor, you know. And so that's what I'm happy to see. We're always the topic of discussion, and that's a good place to be in if you're going to the University of Texas.
Last thing, and I was saving this for last. Kevin Durant, you were there for the KD year, right?
Oh man, was I there, brother? He was my classmate. We sat next to each other. Shout out to KD Durantula. Yeah.
So obviously, I covered him. First time I saw him was when he was 16 in New Orleans at AAU tournament. But what he did yesterday,
yeah, so dope.
I mean, special.
So dope. So
special.
Dope.
And I want to say that doesn't mean Texas basketball is about to become Duke and sign 5 stars a year. That's unrealistic expectations.
Yeah.
But just what he did for Texas yesterday and through Nike, obviously he's got the biggest brand of any Texas athlete.
Yeah.
We'll see what Arch Manning does in the future. That name's got a chance to carry a lot of weight if he goes on and has a really good pro career. But KD, what he did for Texas, kind of your thoughts on that. I know you probably have some real thoughts on it. By the way, I didn't know y'all sat together next to each other in classes.
Yeah, man. I think it was an anthropology class, you know, and of course we paid attention. But no, I mean, look, you know his love for Texas, man. You know what KD means to the university. You know what the university means to him. For him to make that, and not just, it's a lot of things that's running through my mind. One, shout out to him for making that move to elevate female athletics, right? I believe that in itself is so dynamic, man, because there's a lot of women athletes, man, that, you know, just quite frankly are just not getting their just due. And so for Kevin to come in and create these brand deal opportunities, you know, for everybody, but I'm talking specifically for that young lady, man, it's just a testament to his character. But if you know and you've watched his story, then you understand how important, you know, women are in his life, like his mom and everything that she sacrificed and all the things that he's done for, you know, women, single women and initiatives and things like that. So you can tell that it just aligns with the character of who he is. But now what happens is that if you're a top, you know, to your point, not getting all the 5 stars, but it does bring eyes to the university to know that you got a name like Kevin Durant, and on top of that, Kevin Durant's wealth engine behind him, that being Nike. You know that, hey, if I go out here and I do what I need to do, and I'm playing the ball the way I need to play ball, there's an opportunity for me to create some real life-changing opportunities for myself and for my family. So I believe that's the aspect of it that I look at and say, man, that's pretty cool. Hats off to him and what he's doing. And I can't wait to see more initiatives, because it's not just going to stop with this. It's not going to start and stop with this. There's going to be things that he compounds on, because everything that he's done, he does it in a space of greatness.
Yeah, and I want to finish with this. So just so people understand, I wrote about this yesterday, and we did a video. yesterday. What this entails, just so people know, is that you can talk about this with a high school recruit, but a high school recruit can't sign anything within this until they are a student at the University of Texas. So it can be talked about. And here's some opportunities for you, but you can't go sign a contract. You can't collect NIL off of this until you're an athlete at the University of Texas. I think that's so important to mention with this because that's what I'm saying. This is not going to equate. And Texas is in a blue blood men's basketball. So this isn't going to end up being, hey, 4 or 5 stars want to come to Texas out of high school. No, that's not what it's about. But I think it gives you an opportunity if you can get one guy in that level, in that blue blood level, that you really have to battle those guys for, because there's not going to be an Austin Gooseby every year that's a 5-star level player that wants to be at Texas. It's where he's always wanted to be and turns down double plus from BYU in NIL.
Or the lineage too, Jerry. That's important. Not just a great 5-star basketball player that wants to come to Texas and that's where he's always going to be, but then also his family member is also there. That's not a dime. That's not a dime a dozen. So yeah. And on top of that, it becomes a great recruiting tool too. You know what I mean? So we look at it from that.
By the way, this is also going to go beyond basketball and women's basketball. That's another thing I can say. There's going to be opportunities for other athletes at the University of Texas, not just in basketball.
Correct. But you are absolutely correct. But I'm speaking to the fact that, hey, when you're starting with that, because listen, it's needed, man. There's some 100%. I don't know if people really watch female sports, but bro, like there's some women out there that, like, if I got on the court with, I'm just gonna be honest, like, all right, this is an L. This is the L. Like, there's some great female athletes in the space, man, and we need to support that because I'm telling you, man, they play great basketball. They play some great fundamental basketball. You know what I mean? So I'm an advocate. Maybe it's because I got a daughter too, but I don't know.
There you go. All right, that's okay with Hills. Tony Hills, thank you as always, my friend. Good hoodie choice today.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Tony.
All right, y'all have a good one.
All right, good stuff from Tony. And speaking of good stuff, Jerry, I need to tell everyone this morning about Hexclad, and they make the best pans around here. I'm having trouble like you this morning. But go look at the pan that you've been using since college. If it's warped, everything sticks to it, and it smells vaguely like burned eggs and poor decisions, it might be time for some new pans. I made the switch to Hexclad about 6 months ago. These things are awesome. They combine stainless steel performance with nonstick convenience, so you can actually get a real sear, but cleanup doesn't turn into a full workout afterward. And what I love is you don't have to baby them. Metal utensils are fine. Dishwasher's fine. Oven up to 900 degrees, also fine. These pans are built like absolute tanks. And the heat control is legit. Cooking actually gets easier instead of feeling like you're fighting the pan the whole time. There's a reason Gordon Ramsay uses Hexclad at home and in his restaurants, and every piece comes with a lifetime warranty. So this is basically the last set of pans that you'll ever buy. Don't go through another spring using the same busted pans you should have thrown out years ago. For a limited amount of time, our listeners get 10% off your order with our exclusive link. Just head to hexclad.com/ontexas. Support our show. Check them out. Hexclad, HEXCLAD.com/ontexas. Make sure to let them know that On Texas Football sent you, and spring clean your kitchen the smart way with Hexclad. But if you don't want to cook, Jerry, you can always go to Hayes City Store, right?
Oh, you can do that for sure. There are very few restaurants that what you go to, you immediately know they're just special. Hayes City Store is one of those very few places. It's scratch-made Texas comfort food. They've got their famous truck stop enchiladas, award-winning chicken fried steak, homemade desserts. All of it's absolutely delicious, and all of it is from scratch. There's also live music 6 nights a week with 50 beer taps, ice-cold long necks, and tasty margaritas. There are 13 TVs alone in their ice house, perfect for game days. And they even have brunch served 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. every Sunday. Hayes City Store is also dog-friendly, except for those collies. And they have a tree net for kids. Don't mix the two. Join the folks at Hayes City Store and bring your whole crew. For more information, check out the website at hayescitystoretx.com. Hayes City Store, it's definitely uniquely Texas.
All right, well, we're going to bring in our other guest this morning, current Denver Broncos quarterback, Jarrett Stidham. Good morning, Jarrett.
What's up, guys? How are we doing?
Great, man. Great.
Appreciate you having me on.
Yeah. Covered you in high school, man. It's been a long time.
Don't remind me. I'm getting old.
Yeah. Well, I covered you, so I'm very, very old, right? So we want to bring you on today, kind of talk about, playing in the SEC. You watched Arch Manning, kind of talk about some of those things. I guess the first thing I wanted to ask you is, obviously as a NFL quarterback guy that studies quarterbacks, kind of what are your thoughts on Arch Manning and the rigors of playing in the SEC, which you went through?
Yeah, look, I think for Arch's sake, I think he this last year especially did a tremendous job, in my opinion, of just growing. And in my opinion, whenever you're able to just get experience, especially in the SEC, that's huge. And I tell people all the time, I was at Baylor, Big 12, and then I made the jump over to the SEC with Auburn. And in my opinion, the SEC is the closest thing. And I think now too, you might be able to throw the Big Ten in there just because they've had some additions. But when I was in school, the SEC was the closest thing to the NFL. And what I mean when I say that is each and every week, there's not really a down week. And in the NFL, I mean, it's kind of the same thing, obviously. I mean, you got every team has a superstar of some sort, and it's very similar in the SEC. So, in my opinion, watching Arch, throughout the year last year, going from week to week and how he improved, and it wasn't the best at first, and then it got a little bit better and a little bit better and a little bit better, and then at the end of the year, he's playing really good ball. And so, you whenever you can kind of put those two together, with playing really well in the SEC, but also improving each week in the SEC. It's huge. So excited to see what he can do this year, and I'm sure I'm not the only one looking forward to it.
Well, I wanted to talk about that jump from Big 12 to SEC a little bit more. I mean, I know you said obviously the talent, bigger games, that type of thing, but how much of a change was that for you? And was there a shock initially when you had it?
It's funny. I remember when I decided to transfer and I went on my, I guess, official, or it wasn't my official visit, but one of my first visits to Auburn. I guess it was like it had to have been week 1 or week 2 of the 16 season. So the year that I was taken off. And I remember walking into their indoor facility and they were having a walkthrough. And I remember seeing their O-line and D-line and just how different it was. You know what I mean? And I'm not knocking obviously anything that we had at Baylor because we were a really good football team, but I just remember walking in and just seeing how big these guys were and how fast they were and just how different it was. And then you get into it and you can see why the SEC is, in my opinion, superior to any other conference just because of those types of guys. And it's not just one team, it's every team in the SEC. And obviously now you're seeing it with teams like Vandy and, some of these other teams that are really competing at a high level each and every week, that maybe before that they weren't. So it's really fun. And honestly, I love it for just the game of football. Seeing the competitive nature each and every week in the SEC. It's a big jump in my opinion. And, I felt it fairly quickly. So.
Hey, Jared, so I think one of the things you've experienced and Texas is now going through is life on the road in the SEC. I think the last year at Florida hit them in the face, right? When you play at Florida the first time. What were some of the venues that you found most difficult at Auburn?
Yeah, funny enough, one of them wasn't even in the SEC, but Clemson is the first one that comes to mind. That was my second week playing at Auburn, and that was when Clemson was on, on their run. And so that was pretty cool. But as far as SEC, I never got to play in Death Valley at night, which I would have, but it was a 2:30 game. It was still incredible atmosphere. They came back and beat us after being up 20 points, like great atmosphere. Being from Texas and, look, I'm sure you guys don't like the Aggies. I'm not a big Aggie guy either, but Kyle Field is fun to play at. That atmosphere, 110,000 people, whatever it is, that's a lot of fun. And then obviously Auburn's, two main rivalries being Georgia and Alabama. Between the hedges is fun. Night game there, that was really exciting. And then Bryant Denny, obviously, and at Bama is fun. So that's the good thing about one of the best things about playing in the SEC is you get to experience all of these really cool atmospheres each and every week. And you might be on the road against Tennessee one week, and then the next week you're on the road, like you're saying, against Florida or LSU or Bama or Georgia. It's just like the list goes on and on and on. So it's a lot of fun.
All right, Jay. So you've played, with some pretty dang good quarterbacks in the NFL. Tom Brady, obviously, being way up there. You played with Cam Newton. A lot of good guys. But what separates a good quarterback from a great quarterback, in your opinion?
Oh, that I could go on and on about this. Man, there's a lot to it. You could talk about preparation. You could talk about leadership. You could talk about obviously throwing the football and all the physical attributes that you can have, all that sort of stuff. The thing that I'll say, and I tell people this about Tom, because people always ask me, what was Tom like? Incredible human being, incredible football player. But the thing that I noticed with him, more than anybody I've ever been around, was his ability to bring the level of his teammates up. And so I'll never forget, we're in a walkthrough my rookie year, and it's like one of those things, like whether it's football or a normal job, like you don't want to get called out by your boss, right? You don't want to go to the principal's office. Like those are the types of things. You don't want to get yelled at by your coach, all those types of things. So you try to be on your P's and Q's. Well, with Tom, it was a little different. And Tom had the respect of his peers, and his peers respected him so much that it was like, I don't want to get called out by Tom. And so he just, like, there was like this extra level because it was a teammate. It was like this extra level of whether preparation, whatever it is, to where, man, I don't want to be in a walkthrough and Tom yell at me because I messed up, or out in practice and I ran the wrong route, or, whatever. So that was like the biggest thing. It kind of goes into leadership, but like bringing up, his teammates to his level.
Hey, Jared, I wanted to ask you about this because you remained a high school basketball player, even once you became a national football recruit as a quarterback. And I think at a young age, we're getting into one sport specialized athletes a lot more now than when you graduated. It wasn't that long ago from Stephen. But I'll talk about how important that playing multiple sports. Okay, you're a leader on Friday night at Stephenville. But if I remember right, what are you about the fourth, fifth best player on your basketball team in high school? Does that sound right? So you weren't necessarily the leader of that team. But one, how much did it help you playing basketball along with being a high-level quarterback? And two, from a leadership standpoint, that's a total difference than being the leader of a football team on Friday night and maybe not being the best basketball player on a team, which Arch Manning also did at Isidore Newman.
Yeah, you're 100% right. I think nowadays we're getting into this age of you have to be specialized in one sport, whether it's football or basketball or golf or literally anything. And I'm personally not a huge proponent of that. Like I want to challenge my kids to, play as many things as they want to play, because I think there's carryover in every sport. Like growing up, I played soccer. So soccer helped me with footwork. And then I played basketball. And I think basketball helps with your overall athleticism, running, jumping, being physical. There's a physical element to it. So like there's different things that you can pick up, in my opinion, from each and every sport. Baseball, hand-eye coordination, all those types of things, throwing. So I think for me personally, it really helped me to continue to grow each and every year that I was growing up. And honestly, I think a big part of it is not getting burnt out. And, I saw, like, my older brother, who was a really, really good basketball player, he stopped playing football his freshman year in high school. And so he was all basketball all the time. And by his senior year, he probably could have went and played somewhere, but he was just burnt out. And he was just like, I don't want to do it anymore. So I think it kind of, especially in high school, it always kept me fresh. Like obviously football was what I was going to do and all that sort of stuff, but it was like, okay, summer hits, it's football time, and then December hits, hopefully state championship, and then the next week I'm shooting hoops with my guys, and then towards the end of basketball season, it's either baseball or track. And so you kind of have this constant, and then you're back in football late spring, all that kind of stuff. So it just helped me keep me fresh and not let me get burnt out on throwing the football so much or, shooting hoops so much, all that kind of stuff. So I, I mean, my wife and I luckily are on the same page with this. And, we want our kids to just do as much as possible, and whatever they fall in love with, they fall in love with.
We got a viewer question for you from Nathaniel here. He says, Jarrett, which defensive player / defensive coordinator in the NFL is the hardest to game plan against?
Ooh, that's a great question. That's tough. I think, funny enough, our defense, in my opinion, Vance Joseph, is extremely hard to game plan against. And the reason I say that is because there's so many different looks, multiple looks. They're going to bring 2 here, drop 2 here. They're going to bring 1, drop 2. They're going to bring 3, drop 3. Like there's just so much. And so if you don't have a great game plan against those types of defenses, especially the heavy pressure defenses, I mean, you're going to get smoked. And then as far as players, man, it's really hard. Like obviously we're lucky enough to have some extremely talented defensive players on the edge, inside, outside. Pat Surtain, obviously. It's hard when you're playing against a guy like Pat. You can't always throw it his way. That's probably not the best game plan. But then again, like if you have good guys on the outside and you have good defensive ends, like I know whenever we play, some of these good defensive ends, if you're not chipping a lot on these guys and hitting them, crack tosses, like different things, like it's just really, really hard. And so, defensive ends especially, I mean, that's why they get paid so much money, because they can wreck games, in a hurry. You gotta have a great defensive or offensive game plan for those guys.
So that leads me into a follow-up question on Arch. So you've been through this process. You've watched a lot of other quarterbacks go through this process. As talented as Arch is, with next year expected to be his final year in college, what are going to be and it doesn't matter what the last name on your jersey is. There's a transition from college to NFL as a quarterback. What is that? What are the major key pieces to that transition for a young quarterback?
Going from college to the pros, you're saying?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot to it. I'll never forget which, and I don't know Arch's system all that well, obviously, but it's like when I came into the league, and it was a little unique because Tom was in his 20th year in that system.
Oh, wow.
But it was like learning a full different language, and I wasn't exposed to some of that in college, and so there's so much from that standpoint of just learning the playbook that is so unique. And it depends on where you go. Some systems are easier to pick up than others, and all that kind of stuff. And then on another thing, which is interesting, and I didn't realize it when I first got in the league, but now I'm really starting to understand it, is, you get these guys in college, they're making a ton of money. So, I mean, like I'm sure Arch, he's going to be making more money than a ton of the NFL, to be quite honest. And it doesn't matter what position that is. And so you get these guys making a ton of money, and then they come in the pros. And to be quite honest, like, and I'm not saying this about Arch, I'm just saying in general, we don't really care how much you've made in college. Like as NFL veterans, like I really could care less like how much you've made. Like I care about now and how are you going to help the team. And it's one of those things, like as young guys, whether it's quarterback, running back, O-line, D-line, whatever. I mean, you're getting in the huddle with grown men that have 3, 4, 5 kids. And so if you want to start talking about what life's really about, like, okay, come on, you know what I mean? So it's not, at that point, there's just a different level of desire or want to because like this is my livelihood. Like this is how I put food on the table for my wife and my kids. And so I think that's something young guys have to understand coming in the league. It's like in college, like a lot of these guys are now getting paid buku's amount of money for playing good, playing bad. It's like, I guess, part of the contract, so to speak. And so, and in the NFL, that's just not how it works. If you don't play well, you're not going to be around very long. You know what I mean? So, there's just like a different level of desire, like I said, that comes with playing in the league. And, some young guys are better at handling that than others. And it's, as veterans, like we look for those young guys to like pick it up rather quickly and like, okay, like this is how it is. Like this is work. This isn't go to class, go out to the bar at night, get up, go to workout, go to class again, go to practice. Like that's not what this is. And so, professionals, you gotta do things the right way. So.
All right, Jared, before we let you go, I got to ask you this because the chat is very adamant about knowing. They want to know about your relationship with Sam Ehlinger and some of the other Texas guys on the Broncos.
Hook 'em horns, yes. It's funny. So I guess two of my best friends now are both Longhorns. So Sam, obviously, and then Brandon Jones. I'm actually having dinner with Brandon on Friday this week, but like two of my closest friends. And so I joke with Sam. I'm like, look, when Madden, my son, he's about to be 2, I'm like, here in like 18 years, like you better take him under your wing at the University of Texas. Like we need a scholarship, So no, it's great though. I mean, Sam is a tremendous human being, really good football player. Really excited to like be around him this last year. And like I said, him and I got extremely close, super helpful in the film room, on the practice field, just like seeing things, super cerebral. I can't say enough good things about him. And then Brandon, obviously, I mean, since I've known of Brandon because I actually tried to get him to come to Baylor back in the day before, he went to Texas when everything went down. So I've known him forever, and we've gotten super close with him and his wife. And like I said, he is one of my best friends, and he a tremendous football player. And whenever he came to us, 2 years ago, I mean, he's kind of went crazy and making plays left and right. And I mean, he's a big reason I think our defense has been really, really good the last couple of years. So I'm obviously I didn't go to UT. I wasn't always fond of UT necessarily growing up, but I've started to come around a little bit. As long as they, can offer my son a scholarship one day. No, I'm kidding. No, but it's been great. Like those guys are great. I mean, we've had Lil Jordan Humphrey, LJ's been on the team, Malcolm Roach, PJ Locke. Like, I've played with a bunch of Longhorns, so it's been a lot of fun. And we like to talk trash back and forth to each other, which is fun.
So last thing I have for you, because that led to one more question, and thank you so much, Jarrett, for your time. Who was your team growing up? Because when recruiting process starts, it doesn't always end with the childhood favorite anymore. These times have really changed.
Yeah, you would ask me that. I mean,
of course, I'm a recruiting guy.
Yeah, you are. I wouldn't say I had like a favorite team necessarily. Like I loved watching the Gators whenever Tebow was there. So maybe I was just a Florida fan for a while. Like growing up, I loved watching Notre Dame. Like Brady Quinn, whenever he was balling, I loved watching him. And then, once I started getting recruited, like quite honestly, and I've told Brandon, Sam, all those Texas guys, had Mac Brown been the head coach there, I mean, that's, him and Applewhite were there whenever I started getting recruited. Had they stayed there, like, I think there would have been a great chance I ended up being a Longhorn. I really enjoyed those guys, for what it was during recruiting and stuff. And then, things just went a different way, and so did I. So it just kind of is what it is. But yeah, I mean, I wasn't opposed to being a Longhorn. You know what I mean?
Well, Jarrett, thank you so much, man. Appreciate you joining us. I know you're busy. You got a busy schedule, so thank you for carving out some time for us.
No, all good, guys. I appreciate you guys having me on. This was fun.
Thanks, Jarrett.
Thanks. All right. Well, how about that, Jerry?
I had to get in the recruiting
at the
question,
end.
man. I had to get in the recruiting question at the end. You got to do that because you know what's crazy about that is, that tells you how popular Mac Brown really was, because that wasn't, and also tells you this. And this is the one thing about recruiting that I always ask guys. That's why I like to ask them. Recruiting, and that really starts for kids before you ever get a letter. It starts with, who do you identify with? I've always said like 10 to 12 years old, maybe 13 is I call it your age of influence in recruiting. You identify with a team. You identify with a team because of a player that plays your position. And what did he say? Tim Tebow, Florida.
Yeah.
How old was he at that time? Probably 10, 11 years old.
Yeah.
The more kids you talk to, or a parent, you say, oh, he really used to like this. This is who he liked to watch play. Well, that's like when you're that 10 to 12, 13 years old, that's when your recruiting process in your mind really starts, even though you're not a recruit yet, because you have that player of influence or that team of influence. And that starts to shape your thoughts. And then if you get to that level and recruiting happens, then oftentimes it changes. But that age of influence is 10 to 13 in recruiting. I'll always stand by that.
Yeah, it'd have been interesting to see. I know he probably wasn't too impressed with the offense at that time in Texas. We'll just leave it at that. Before we get to our last few super chats of the day, Jerry, I need to tell everyone about Adam Lowy and the Lowy Law Firm. Adam specializes in results for his clients, whether it's a tragic car wreck, an accident in the workplace, or any sort of serious catastrophic injury. Adam is who you want to call. So give him a call today, 512-280-0800, or reach out online, loweylawfirm.com, for a free consultation. And remember, Adam focuses on results. Okay, we got a few super chats, like I said. I'm going to start with this one here from Longhorn Frenzy. Good morning, fellas. Not really a question, but a statement. In my opinion, Texas baseball hasn't even hit their stride yet. They are loaded. I can't wait to see Tenney getting better pitches to hit. What are your thoughts? I am 100% agreeance with you, Longhorn Frenzy. I think, they're nowhere close to peaking. That's the scary thing. The 16-0 team, one of only 2 undefeated teams, being this good this early is a great thing. There's a lot of meat left on the bone for them to get better with. Tenney being a prime example of that. I think we posted on TexasFootball.com last week that the Texas coaches weren't worried about his ability at the plate, even though a lot of fans seem to be. I think the sky is the limit for them if they can stay healthy. Man, it's going to be a really, really fun year. And what's crazy is in the coming years, as they get more of their players in, they're going to be even better. That's what's scary, Jerry. Really scary.
What I love about where Texas baseball is right now is they've built a ton of confidence. Yes. Not that when you're highly ranked, you still have to build a team and build confidence, right? But you know why I think they haven't hit their peak yet? For 2 reasons. One, they haven't faced adversity truly yet.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you have to face some adversity and go through that. And then boom, that's your next ascension. And 2, because they haven't really been pushed like they will be in SEC play. And so you don't really know how good a team can be until they're pushed on a game in, game out basis, right? Somebody mentioned Carson Tenney. He's going to get it going, right? He's a really good player. But the great thing about this team is he doesn't have to. Baseball's like basketball, right? In basketball, you might have an 8-game shooting stretch where the ball isn't going in. The rim looks really small, right? And then you break out of it. I think baseball is very similar in that regard. But the great thing about those 2 sports to me is with baseball, you have some really good guys around you that are picking you up. And you know what? Then it'll be Tenney's turn to pick somebody else up when he gets hot. I mean, That's the great thing about it, right? And so I think they haven't reached their peak for 2 reasons. They haven't been hit in the face with adversity, and they haven't been pushed in a game in, game out basis like they will in the SEC. Then we're going to find out how much they can actually ascend from where they're at now. If they're able to ascend a lot as a team from where they're at now, they're a legit national championship contender. Legit. And I think we all say right now, they look like they are. But I would bet if you talk to Schloss right now, he would say,
Yeah.
we haven't faced adversity yet, boys. I mean, we can get ahead of ourselves with all this, but we haven't faced adversity. Coaches know that they haven't been hit and punched in the face yet. That's when coaches really know how you take the punch, how you respond to the punch. And then when you get in the conference play and it's really difficult, how many other stairs can you climb as a team? How many other flights of stairs can you climb?
Yep. And conference play starts this weekend against Ole Miss. So, Ole Miss isn't the teams of the past few years, but they're still very talented. So it'll be a good test.
We have some breaking news here too. I wanted CJ to put it out because he saw him. I'm not there. Texas A&M offensive tackle commit. Well, I think one of the best pass protection guys in the country, Demarion Johnson. We've been mentioning on everything I wrote on TexasFootball.com that Texas is very much in on him. Demarion Johnson, 6'6", about 310 from Tyler Legacy High, committed to A&M, is at spring practice right now. I'll be surprised if Texas doesn't get an official visit from him. Obviously, Bo Trahan, Lee Jackson on that staff, Bo Trahan, the head coach at Legacy. I don't think that has anything to do with Demarion Johnson's interest in Texas. I think Demarion Johnson, I'm DM back and forth with him a little bit, but he attended 2 Texas games last year, and he's been committed to Texas, as you see, guys, for a while. But Texas has never backed off that recruitment. I think he's very, very talented guy, especially in pass pro right now, really good feet and body quickness, but he's currently at Texas spring practice. So that's another big time offensive lineman who's yet to set an official visit, but I bet he does.
Good stuff. We got a super chat. Well, let's just stay on this baseball topic for just a moment because this is somewhat baseball. It is baseball related, not somewhat. But Jay Lee, Marcus and I actually had a discussion about this after y'all left on Monday, Jerry. He says, can we please take a minute to talk about Jonah? Dude needs to pick a sport already, right? His body is beat down and can't even stay healthy right now. And so what I said, Jerry, is injuries may determine what sport he picks.
Yeah.
I mean, there is some truth to what Jay's saying. He can't stay healthy in either sport, it seems like. I don't know if he has to make that decision right now, but I think time will eventually make that decision for him. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think there's some different – I think there's something building on the baseball side that I kind of want to make a point of with Jonah. I think the football season coming up, the 2026 football season is going to be big in determining which direction he ultimately goes, because you have a new D coordinator, not going to really take part in much. He's been in the meetings, but that's different than being on the field. So how far behind does he fall in Muschamp's scheme? We'll see if he gets on the field at all this spring. So there's that caveat, which I think the next season is going to be big in kind of forcing a sport, because look, Texas NIL from a football standpoint. I mean, if you're only there a little bit at a time, if you don't make a big dent on the field, that could change things from an NIL perspective for you. I'd say that from a baseball standpoint, and I may have even got ahead of myself with Jonah, because I said, okay, this season, if he has a really good baseball season, he's gonna end up being a high MLB draft pick, right? So I got ahead of myself on that, Blake, from this perspective. He's got to start putting the ball over the fence.
Yeah.
He's got to start showing some power, because at 6'3", 210, he's a big-time athlete. He's looked at a guy that should be able to drive the baseball.
Yeah.
And, when you go back, because we compare all these two-sport athletes and say, well, Kyler Murray played baseball at Oklahoma. Well, I went back and looked at him, and I kind of knew already. I didn't know the exact stats. He had 10 home runs the year he got drafted, 8th overall. He had 10 homers, drove in 47. I think he had a tremendous year. He showed a lot of pop in his bat at Oklahoma. And that led to the scouts thought about him in high school. And I was really close to Kevin Murray in his recruitment. What they thought about him in high school suddenly carried over. So I think one thing with Jonah from a baseball perspective, I think he's got to start putting the ball over the fence a little bit. He's got to start showing that pop.
Yeah. And he's got to stay healthy. I mean, you can't, he got hurt. What was it, last Friday night, diving for a baseball and hurt his shoulder. Now they think he's going to be fine. It's not going to be a long-term injury or anything, but it just seems like, and I'm not, knocking him by any means, but it does seem like there's a history of not being able to stay completely healthy more often than not. So
he's a heck of a talent, and he always has been. Yeah, I remember being at his his commitment ceremony when I walked up to the baseball coach at G Ball. I said, "Well, what are your thoughts on him graduating early?" And he kind of looked at me and he said, with a crushed face, he said, "I'm not ready to come to that in my mind yet. I'm not ready to really think about that yet," because he was still hoping that would change, and he'd been thinking more pro baseball. But imagine being a high school baseball coach and Jonah coming to you and saying, "Graduating early."
Yeah.
But you can watch me play baseball at Texas. Guy was crushed.
I'm gonna play, just not for you.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Mulligan Molly here. How does the women's basketball team match up with UConn?
That's a great question. So the number one thing people would say, I think, about UConn right now is the Big East is terrible. Not a great basketball conference. But the UConn, if you just get past that and say, okay, Gino has won 11 national titles, and it doesn't matter what conference they're playing, it matters what the team is. They are one of the better 3-point shooting teams I've seen in the women's game. I mean, they're 39.5% from three, which is truly a big number. They're going to play disciplined basketball, right? But I think the whole key, and I hope Texas and UConn meet, because I do think that means it would be in a national championship game. So everybody chat. Although I wouldn't mind seeing UConn get upset, I'll say that. But if they meet, it's going to be in a national championship game. I believe that's how the bracket will fall. I think the biggest thing is going to be, let's say UConn hit, because Texas is great defensively, right? But UConn's still going to do what they do well, unless they just have a total off night shooting the basketball. Let's say they hit 8 threes against Texas. Let's say Texas hits, because UConn averages more than that. But let's just say they hit 8. Let's say Texas hits 3, which is right on their average. That's 15 points Texas has to make up. That's just the real analytics of it. If UConn hits 8 threes and Texas hits 3, you got to make up 15 points there. And that's going to be the key, I think, in that game is pace. Can Texas slow that pace down if they play? And then they're going to hit more threes than you are. So the analytics are going to show you're down 9, down 12, down 15 to start the game. How do you make those points up? Because that is where the 3-point shot and analytics really comes into play. If Texas hits 3 and UConn hits 8, it's 15 points. How are you going to make it up? Where are you going to make it up? And can you play at the pace you want to and make those 15 points up? I think it's going to be big in that game, because we can't sit here and get into Texas's game plan against UConn and UConn's game plan against Texas. That's not possible. But what we can do is look at it from an analytics standpoint, understanding UConn's really good and this is a strength of their team. And they got some great shooters on that team. I think every player that shoots the 3 for UConn shoots 33% or above. That's unheard of in the women's game. I mean, they can really shoot the basketball. So it comes down to the analytics. How do you make up the points? Can you control the pace? If that game gets boom, 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 and UConn is in transition threes, that is not going to be good for anybody that plays UConn. That I can tell you.
Yeah. And I should mention, we most likely, and it's not set in stone yet, but I believe we'll have Vic on after Selection Sunday. So this coming Monday, the 16th, we'll have him on and talk about the upcoming tournament and everything that he always brings to the table. Always a good time with Vic. All right, our last one for today, Jerry, and this is going to be, I'm going to combine 2 here because one of them is a super chat, but it's more of a comment. Clifton Hines with super chat, thank you, says Baker Siani healthy and chemistry building in the spring, gives a thumbs up. But Mike's hard takes right after that says, if Siani lives up to his day 2 pick projection and Baker continues progressing, how does the offensive line look?
It looks good from an NFL draft standpoint. I'll say that. I mean, Siani has the look. I mean, when he comes out onto the practice field, he has the look. He has the athleticism. What I heard leading into spring practice is he was still trying to get the footwork down and the requirements of the Texas scheme to take out any wasted motion, because the schemes are similar, but nothing's ever the same. So coming from Wake Forest to Texas, there's still a transition. And so much of it is your footwork and understanding your landmarks and not having any wasted motion getting to those landmarks and with your footwork. So I think those are the things he's working through as he makes an adjustment to a new school, which is natural. But he's got the athletic goods. He's got the frame. He's got the length. He's got the body quick. All that was pretty easy to see. With Brandon Baker, I think the whole thing there for me is going to be he knows the scheme in and out. I don't think the footwork is going to be a big transition for him. He's staying on the right side. It's obviously a different position. I think the biggest thing for him is going to come when nobody can see it. When our media windows, that is when you line up against Murad Watson, can you move him in the run game? I think that's going to be the biggest thing for him is can you move future NFL draft picks on the defensive line in the run game? He's going to be fine in pass pro at guard, but that's going to be the thing I think to help maximize this Texas team in the way Sark scheme is running the football is who are going to move people in the run game for you. And I think he's got a chance to do that, but I can't sit here and predict that, oh, yeah, it's definitely happening. He hasn't done it before. So he's got to go through that process. But I think that's going to be the big one for him. But I'll say this, the Texas staff will get a very good look at where he's at in that regard because every player he's going up against is going to be a future NFL draft pick, a defensive line. So, and I'm not saying they're all going to be first rounders, right? They're mid-round draft picks, but he's going up against guys who are going to be in NFL training camps and playing pro football. So the Texas staff will have a very good feel for where he's at by April 18th in that regard. And I think Trevor Goosby's going to have a really good – I think from an NFL talent perspective, they're going to have three guys. The guy that I continue, and I've been intrigued with him since high school and continue to be intrigued with is Jordan Coleman. And obviously he's the first team left tackle right now. Does he stay there long term? Does he start the rep at left guard come August? Because if Lawrence Seymour, even if he gets cleared, missing spring practice is a big deal. It doesn't mean you're going to just walk in and get it all immediately. Do they open that up for a competition, or do they keep Jordan Coleman as the backup left tackle? Be interesting to see. Yeah, he's intriguing to me because I think Jordan Coleman's got a chance to be really good. He's just so strong naturally. I mean, I was at Cedar Hill today, squatted 600 pounds as a junior. And he's just so strong. When he puts his hands on people, he can move people.
That's crazy. 600 pounds. Well,
as a junior.
That's even crazier. Oh, man. All right. Well, that's going to do it for today's episode of Coffee and Football, presented by Adam Lowy and the Lowy Law Firm. We want to thank Adam, along with Ridge Wallet, Hayes City Store, Harry's, and Hexclad, all for sponsoring today's show. Big shout out to Tony Hills and Jarrett Siddle for joining us as well. Appreciate that. Appreciate you all tuning in for the questions, the super chats. Don't forget that we can't get to all the questions, but you can head on over to ontexasfootball.com. Get on the message board, join the community, ask your questions over there. And right now, it's the On Texas Football Spring Sale. You can get a full year of access for $39.95 if you use promo code OTFOG. Again, a full year, $39.95, using promo code OTFOG at ontexasfootball.com. Jerry, what's later today for everybody?
I think Bobby and CJ will have a live report coming up here shortly after the second spring practice window. I think we'll have player availability at probably around 11:30. So I think Hank, Jeff, and CJ will do a video after that. We have live stream tonight. We have Texas basketball, Ole Miss at 6. We have a game thread, which are always entertaining, over at ontexasfootball.com. And Joe Z will be bullying me on ontexasfootball.com later. Go bully Joe Z. Get on Team Jerry.
Well, we will be back same time, same place tomorrow. And thank you all for tuning in. So for Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton, I'm Blake Monroe, and we'll see you then.